So if someone listening maybe has heard the word manifestation, I think most people listening to this podcast perhaps have. Maybe you've had experiences, maybe they've had experiences like you where they can't explain, but then they chalk it off as like, oh, that probably was nothing, right? But where do we start if we want to begin our manifestation journey?
Well, recognizing, I think identifying and acknowledging that you are a manifesting machine, that that's what you're here for. You are co-creating in your own body. How many of us that are listening to this podcast can say that, you felt connected or disconnected? I need to come back to myself. I lost myself when A, B, C, D, and E happened. And so really understanding that you are here to create. Everything that you are doing in physical form is of co-creation in some way, shape, or form. And it starts with us. So identifying that you have that quality inside of you, and it's part of your it's almost like we just disregard the parking spots or the things that fall into place really easily in subtle tones. Those are the things that we disregard in our society. Programming, television, even our governments can discredit these qualities. And maybe it's because if we're all empowered, what would we do? What would our society look like in terms of being able to control the population? So the first step is just identifying. And I think another thing too is there are qualities around certain religions that tell you that you are a sinner, that you are not special. And for many generations and decades, we've had something outside of us telling us about our connection. We needed a pope, we needed a guru, we needed something to help us tap into that source. And so even just starting to identify that you are special, you are insignificant and extremely significant at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
so identifying, your life matters, what you do matters, the things that you say or that you don't say, the actions that you take or that you don't take truly matter in terms of being able to manifest larger things, greater outcomes. And some of those things take time. They do. They take time because you need to change in order for those things to occur. So I believe that the first part really truly is just identifying that you are a creator. You are truly a creator, and owning that. And that has to do with you create your day. You get to decide if you're going to get up, if you're going to go to the gym, if you're going to meditate, if you're going to eat healthy. Those are personal decisions. And those things trickle out into the ethers, into
Mm-hmm.
every interconnection that we have with everyone and every single thing around us. So that evolution of ourselves creates evolution around us in terms of our daily experiences and then to the collective as well.
Yeah, yeah. So what I hear you saying is like that first step is getting real with what the essence of us being here is, like you said, in co-creation and diving into that and what that might look like. I think somebody can hear that, and maybe it's a split second moment of listening to a podcast like this and hearing that and remembering that and like, oh, but I'm sure there's some, yeah, like a journey to that of being really tapped into what you just said of like that we are co-creating, that what we do, our day-to-day actions matter. So the first step is like that awareness and understanding and tapping into the co-creation, and then being able to make the daily choices. Are you saying like make those daily choices to then be the version of you that then can attract the things that you want? Is that what you're saying about the decision to wake up and eat healthy and go to the gym and take care of your physical body? Are those steps to manifestation? Is that what you were saying?
Yes. Yes. And I think taking an audit of yourself in your life and how much you are looking for energetic validation and confirmation outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So that we talk about battery drainers or energy vampires. We can call them people that you just feel tired spending time with them. People that, are negative sometimes. identifying that quality inside of you is really huge. That
Mm-hmm.
level of self-awareness, that do I need do I need to be on my phone calling? Is it okay for me to be by myself? Like, how comfortable are you in your own skin? Because when you create more self-awareness inside of you, the whole as above, so is without, as within, so is without, as above, so is below concept really is true. And so there's math to it. There's a mathematical equation around it. It's understanding how much, and this is a new word that's in my book that I call ementions. Okay. This is the first time I've talked about it on
Like
a
like
podcast.
dimensions, but without the
Like
D.
dimensions.
Mentions.
Yes.
Okay.
So emotional and mental dimensions. Like you and I just met for the first time, like a year ago. And so we were feeling each other's energy. And that's what we do with everybody, like, is this safe for me to like have a conversation with you? So to say, and understanding that everything is of co-creation. So how I show up mentally and emotionally to everything and everyone around me is clutch. And
Mm.
understanding if I'm stepping out of a place of being triggered from my past experiences, or what I call stepping into a place of neutrality. And that does not mean complacency. It means a state of observation that you can then choose to change your behavior in some way, shape, or form that will create a different outcome in the future for you.
Mm. Thanks for sharing that with us. I like that word. Where did you get that from? Did you just
I
download it?
created it. I made
Yeah.
it up. Yeah. No, it's a thing. You won't be able to unsee it now. You'll just be like walking in to go get your massage and like, what's this dimension that I have? Or seeing your friends. Like a good example is when you're hanging out with someone, or you're in a relationship, you guys go out to dinner and you spark a conversation that starts to get uncomfortable, and you can feel that person shut down. And it feels like there's this huge wall up, and they are now on the other side of the room, and you can't get to them. You can't have a conversation. You can't be in that state of connection with them, is a really good way of identifying or feeling like we use it all the time. I feel close to you. I feel distant from you. I need space. I need to look at this from a different angle. Those are all dimensions that we talk about like math. It's the same way in our reality as well.
Mm. Yes. I'm excited to ponder that word a little bit more and look for instances of that. Um, as you were talking, I was thinking of 3 instances that have happened in my life. All I would consider some form of manifestation, but they were all very different. And so I want to share them, and then you can just we can kind
Yeah.
of go from there. But the first one is, so I lived in Austria for a long time. The position that I had for a company called Runtastic was very front facing. I was on stage in front of thousands of people all the time. And I guess maybe 4 stories. So because of that stage experience, I remember as a kid singing karaoke, performing in my room, getting that feeling of being on stage in front of thousands and just that vibe, right? Then fast forward, I lived in Austria. That happened, right? I was on stage in front of thousands of people, very much in the public eye. Then after a great run there, I decided to step away from that and just move into more of who I was becoming, right? And when you go from being on stage, on TV, on the things all the time, and then not, I remember having this vision that I wanted to be able to be in a white room with white walls and nobody, no things, nothing, and be okay and love London anyway, right? So I had that vision and that thought. And then a bunch of friends of mine, we went to, we do a lot of escape rooms. When I lived in Austria, I had friends that we did escape rooms with, right? So we're in Budapest one weekend and we do like 7 escape rooms, right? We're just like fire. We're just like cognitively challenged. We're doing the escape rooms, right? Then the last one, this guy was like, oh, if you guys love escape rooms, you guys should go to the white room. So we go to this escape room and lo and behold, it's a white room with white walls and you have to figure out how to do the room, right? Little one there. Another one, my first week-long meditation retreat with Dr. Joe in Cancun. I booked all the things, but I just didn't book the shuttle. I didn't remember to book the shuttle from the airport to go to the hotel. But I was like, oh, well, like it's going to work out. I'm just going to arrive and there's going to be a solution, right? I just had that feeling that
Yeah.
that was going to happen. So I get there, I haven't, booked the thing. I'm like, I'm just going to figure it out. Maybe I'll, get Wi-Fi and call and figure out how to get on the next shuttle. Right when I walk out to the shuttle areas, this guy's holding a sign that says Dr. Joe shuttle. And I was like, oh, I didn't make a reservation, but this is where I need to go. He's like, it's okay. We have room for you. Come on. Right. Just like super easy. The last one is when I moved to Utah. So I left Austria, moved back to California where my family was, then was ready for this next chapter of my life, whatever it would look like. And this time I took pen to paper. Like I wrote down what I wanted, where I was going to live, what it was going to smell like, what I was going to do, even like putting my feet in streams with rocks that the water was just passing right at ankle height. So that time it was very much like, I wrote down pen to paper, and then lo and behold, here I am with all of these. I go through that list a lot and I'm like, check, 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 check. So I share all of those stories because they're moments of what we're talking about now in my life. But sometimes it was like a feeling. Sometimes it was a list. Sometimes it was just a knowing that things were going to be taken care of. Are those all forms of manifestation formula, or what's the best way to go about creating more experiences that we want?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're privy to this because you're definitely connected with Joe, and Joe talks a lot about this. But what you did bring up, there were four things that you brought up, four different scenarios, but they had all four of them had similar circumstances, and what it was your vision. You envisioned something happening before it did. And those are the pieces, right? We talk about, like, we have the five senses, but they're extended. We have these intuitive senses about us as well. And so that's where, when we get into a place of self-awareness or meditation, we then can clear our channels so that we can receive those visions for us and actually reach towards them. The thing that you're experiencing wants you to experience it. It's of a co-creation in itself. There's something of your future or something, some other person that that you're working with, I'll say this. There's no relationship or experience that anybody has that is one-sided.
Mm.
Okay? So even if you're in an unhealthy relationship, which I'm sort of siding from here, but both parties are getting something out of it. There's a feeding sort of container between the two of them. So absolutely identifying, yes, you are a co-creating machine, and your mind isn't just there to do math so you can do accounting, so you can just get by with your bills. It's there so that you can feel compelled, feel passionate about something. What drives you, what excites you, those things are that's our birthright. We're here to experience joy. And that joy, I'm sure, comes from places of understanding suffering, places of experiencing pain. And so I think another thing for people to identify and understand is part of manifesting is painful sometimes. And you didn't really share any pieces of overcoming obstacles to get to that point. And I'm sure you did along the way, from, getting to where you're at to going to Austria and then developing yourself even further. But we have this sort of blueprint. Every single person has a path, and it's up to us. It's like a choose your own adventure. And I believe that we sort of hit these markers. Like, life is sort of like, okay, we're on this trajectory. We have these cycles. We have these patterns. This is something that every single person goes through. But how much are you identifying the patterns? And are you doing the same thing? Or are you just staying? You're refusing to grow. You're refusing to feel. You're refusing to change in some way, shape, or form. So life is going to present something to you that will shock you into it. So sometimes that's breaking. I broke my femur. I fractured my femur a couple of years
Oh,
ago, and that brought me to my knees. It was that was worse than childbirth, I'll tell you. And I had three of them. But, that, like, when we have upsets, when we have difficulties on top of that, those alter you and they shift you sometimes because you're not willing to. Right. And so
mm.
So manifestation is really like learning how to be your own authentic self in everything throughout all of your experiences in life. And that can be sometimes hard because we have this old story from our upbringing. It's this subconscious patterning that gets formed like a computer programmed in your brain, like a system. And then we perceive our reality as fight or flight, something is threatening, something is challenging to us. But really, ultimately we have to ask ourselves, how much are we feeling good about ourselves, or how much are we feeling guilty, shameful, resentful, fearful? Because these are lower vibrations that will inhibit you from actually taking action towards the thing that you want to experience. It will inhibit you from creating connection and creating intimacy in relationships that you really truly want to have.